If you think a single camera is no longer sufficient on a smartphone, or you want to give dual cameras a try without breaking the bank, here's a phone from ZTE that is slick and gives you dual cameras for less than 1,000 ringgit. I'm Warren for KLGadgetTV, and I've spent the past 2 weeks with the ZTE Blade V8, and this is my full review. Among other Chinese phone makers, ZTE isn't really getting a lot of attention right here. The company has tried hard with the flagship Exynos 7 and the Blade V7 series last year. With the Blade V8, the company clearly wants to be noticed once again. The V8 features an entirely new design that is unlike the V7 series. It's handsome, sleek, and complete with chamfered edges and a 2.5D curved glass. This phone measures 7.7mm thin and weighs merely 141 grams, which feels great on hand and in my pockets. ZTE has also made a textured power button and 2 separate volume buttons, but you might be disappointed that the phone's cleverly disguised USB-C port is in fact a micro USB port. Overall, the Blade V8 is another solidly built handset by ZTE. I recommend putting on a case as the phone is a rather slippery device. One notable feature of the Blade V8 would be its box. Yes, it doesn't just store accessories of the phone, but it also converts into a VR cardboard, which is why I'm going to show you how it is done right now. By mid-range standards, the Blade V8 gets the specs right in some ways. You get a Snapdragon 435 octa-core processor with 3GB of RAM, 32GB of storage, a 5.2-inch Full HD IPS panel, but sadly, with a rather average 2730 mAh battery and no support for fast charging. The Blade V8 accepts 2 SIM cards, or a micro SD card on the second SIM slot. I have to commend ZTE when it comes to the phone's software, as the Blade V8 runs Android Nougat out of the box, which is so unlike many others that emphasizes too much on their own proprietary UI and launcher. However, ZTE's My Favorite UI isn't too useful, and the icons make the phone's software look rather dated. There isn't a lot of choices when it comes to customization as well, which is why I have been using a third-party launcher during the review period. Ever since ZTE has made audio a priority on the Exynos 7, it has continued to do so on the Blade V8. This phone comes with Dolby Audio sound enhancement, which actually delivers great bass and clarity in terms of music listening. So if you ever come across the ZTE Blade V8, put on the headphones and you'll know what I mean. Moving on to the phone's camera. The dual camera setup is made up of a 13 and 2 megapixel camera, which the latter is used for measuring depth of field. It isn't something new of course, but it does do a trick that other competing models don't do at this point of time: taking 3D photos. A gimmick that you will be able to make use of the phone's box. But overall, I would have to say that the phone is a pretty decent shooter if you are thinking to use it for a road trip. It still takes pretty decent shots indoors, but falls short in challenging lighting conditions. The front 13 megapixel selfie shooter is also pretty on par with some higher end smartphones, and you also get a wide selfie mode to fit in more faces into the frame. As I've mentioned in the specs, the ZTE Blade V8 doesn't have a huge battery size inside, hence this translates into a mediocre battery life that will only last you halfway through the day even with a 2-hour on-screen time. Now that may sound like a bad news, but in fact, since the battery size is small, you just need to keep a power bank handy with you if you want to charge the phone once it runs dry, because it charges up pretty fast in 90 minutes. Overall, the ZTE Blade V8 is a rather decent mid-range smartphone, though the spec sheet and average battery life doesn't justify its 999 ringgit price tag. You do get to have great audio quality and dual cameras. The latter is more of a gimmick, but thankfully its intended function works fine. The ZTE Blade V8 will be available at the end of April, so watch out for the news over at KLGadgetGuy.com. Subscribe to KLGadgetTV for weekly tech videos like this, and give us a thumbs up and share this video if you find it useful. I'm Warren for KLGadgetTV, and I shall see you soon in our next video.